Hi folks, Sty here. Well, I got 2 days off. I'm out camping. So, I came to a campsite I've already been at a couple of outings ago. I'm setting up here for the night and going to spend all the rest of today and tomorrow here. Hopefully the wind won't mess up the audio too bad. It's really windy today. We have a chance of thunderstorms on and off. I don't care. Bring them on. Well, so here I am. I'm out of camp. It's kind of hot. It's in the low 80s. So, first of all, I got to police up a bunch of firewood for tonight. If the wind calms down, I'm going to want to have a fire tonight. So I'm going to go and police up a bunch of firewood. And then I'm going to continue this video. This is just the front end. What this video is going to be is I'm going to show you folks how I prepare Chaga hearth boards for bow drill and hand drill. I'll do a video on how I prepare those hearth boards, and then I'll do another video on, I'm going to try to get one done. I might have to do it tomorrow after the wind dies down a little bit, and maybe it won't rain on me. But using a bow drill with Chaga. I was going to do both bow drill and hand drill demos, but I'll have to do the hand drill demo down the road a little bit. I have to go find myself a couple of new hand drills. I had two absolutely perfect hand drills that were Jerusalem artichoke, and I had my hand drill kit sitting on the passenger seat of my truck, and an acquaintance needed a ride somewhere, and I said, yeah, sure, jump in. And before I could even realize that I had those on the seat, he jumped in. He broke one of them in 3 pieces, and the other one is broken about 5 pieces. Sat right on them and just smashed them, busted them all up. So I don't have any hand drills. I'd have to go find something that's suitable for a hand drill. I don't know if I'll get to that today or tomorrow, but I will do the bow drill either today or tomorrow. But after I do this video on preparing Chaga hearth boards for friction fire. Okay, so stick with me and we'll get right to how I prep my Chaga for hearth boards. Hang tight. Well folks, you can see I've been a little bit busy. I said I had to gather up some firewood for the night before I got going on the Chaga video. I got wood. Not quite enough, but I'll gather some up after supper tonight. Otherwise, I decided, well, we had some pretty nasty clouds go over, and I thought for sure we were going to get poured on. So I figured, well, I'll throw a tarp up in case it starts to rain. I'm going to do the Chaga project on the tailgate of my truck, but now I got a dry place that I can sit and relax for the evening. And the way the drainage is here, it's perfect. I can put my bedroll in there for tonight, even if it rains. I'll be nice and comfy. This is a 10 by 12 tarp, so it's plenty big, so yep, I should be pretty comfortable tonight. So I'm going to have a little more fluid, trying to stay hydrated. It's hot and humid out today. And we'll get right to that Chaga project. Let's get to it. Well folks, let's get at it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to prep a piece of Chaga as hearth boards for friction fire making. Okay. First thing, of course, you need is a piece of Chaga. This is a really nice piece. It's quite large. I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, oh my gosh, Sty, you're not going to use that big thing up just for fire starting, are you? Actually, no. It broke off from the tree pretty clean. It's a little jagged, but not too bad. I'm not too concerned about this rough edge. And what we want to do ideally is get, oh, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 nice hearth boards off of this. And you'll see when I'm done that there's a lot of remains that I save for tea. So I'm getting the best of both worlds here. I'm getting Chaga hearth boards. I'm also getting a lot of Chaga for tea. So what do we do to start out? Now a lot of people, just to be a little clear on this, a lot of people take this big chunk. They'll put that between their feet and they'll use the hand drill in it. Or they'll use a bow drill on it. And then they'll get their coal going, and then they'll transfer that. They'll break a piece off like this, tiny little piece, and they'll put that in that hole and transfer that coal to a piece like this, put it in their bird's nest to get their fire going. Well, that's fine, but that means you're using this whole piece of Chaga for fire making. And 2/3 of this is not even a good fire starter. I mean, it'll work as a tinder, but it's clumsy, it's cumbersome. So let's get at it, and I'll show you what I do. I look at the piece and I try to figure out what can I get out of this for hearth boards. Now this piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut along here, and then I'm going to switch it over. I'm going to cut along here, and I'm going to have 2 flat sides, okay? And then we'll take it from there. And these 2 end pieces, they go in a bag. I take them home, process them up for tea. Okay? So let's get started. Now, I've got this Gerber camp saw. I've had it for years. I haven't been able to find them. I want to buy a new one. I want to replace this one. It has been so good to me. And what was really nice is it's got an excellent sheath, but it comes with 2 blades. It's got the coarse blade for your regular cutting and bushcrafting, and then it's got the finer blade for more intricate kind of work and softer woods. And I love the fact that I can switch the blades out. What's nice is I use the finer blade for cutting Chaga. The coarse blade works just fine, but the finer blade works, in my mind, better and less apt to jump out of a groove and you having an accident. So let's get to this. Now I can see where I'm going to try to get my hearth boards out of this, so this is where I'm going to start. Now I've seen people, I'm going to actually turn this board so that more of the dust stays right on the board here. And by the way, medicine bottle, all this dust, I gather all that up because hopefully, usually I don't do this in the wind, but all that dust is great for tinder. But I've actually you want to saw at a good pace, but don't saw so fast that you're creating heat. I've actually ignited the dust so that the dust is sitting there smoldering on my board. The hardest part to cut through is the black outer shell, but it will cut. the core is real soft. You can see all this dust. I've also seen where people have taken chaga and gone into their garage or their wood shop and cut it with a bandsaw. That works okay, but you got to be real careful because that does produce heat. And you could end up with a smoldering pile of chaga dust in your garage. That would not be too good. The difficult part is getting through that black outer core, or outer shell. Now don't worry if it snaps off. It's not going to hurt anything. I like to take something like my whittler's knife and prop it in that groove to keep that groove from closing up on my saw. There we go. Now you can see we've got a nice clean flat surface. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this next jagged piece off, and then I'll cut my hearth boards out of it. But before I start cutting again, first this piece will go home, and I could continue cutting chunks off of this and make smaller hearth boards, but I drink chaga tea. This is going to be turned into tea. And before I start cutting my next cut, I want to collect as much of this, all these black pieces that break off, save those with your tea chaga. It's got some really good benefits to it. You want to put that in your tea. So I'm going to clean up this dust and get it in this medicine bottle. Then I'm going to make the next cut, and then we'll get back on the video and I'll explain a couple other things. And you can see it turns your hands orange. Okay, I'll be right back, folks. Okay, folks. I cut a slab off of this piece. Now, I was going to cut this end off because what I like to do is I would cut this end off, and then I have two flat sides, and I would set it on the flat side and I would cut along this black and cut all that black off with one clean cut, and I would do that on both sides. Then I end up with basically a square block of chaga, and then I would have a flat edge to set it down and start sawing my slabs out of it. But this piece, just the way it's shaped, rides so good, and I can hang onto it so well when I'm cutting, that I figured, nope, I'll just take slabs off of it right down to where I want to stop. I'll probably cut 2 more slabs off of this and keep the rest for tea. But here's the first slab that I cut off. You can see it's nice flat slab. It's like a board. What's nice about this is you can set it on the ground and it's not going to move. You can just rest your toe on it if you want, and you can use your hand drill or you can use a bow drill on it, and it's not going to go anywhere. And oh boy, the critters are just biting me today. a few pointers. First of all, for folks that aren't familiar with Chaga, Chaga is a friction fire tinder. You will not get this to come to flame. It will not go to a flame. It will create a really nice ember. Now you get an ember going in this, and that ember will continue to grow until it burns this whole piece up. I've had pieces this big burn for days just to see what would happen. And the majority of it burn up. It just keeps smoldering and smoldering. So once you get an ember going in this, it gives you time to get a bird's nest together. And what you'll do is you'll, looking at this, I'd use this face of it for my drill. Now you can do a couple different things. Now if I cut this with square edges, I would do the common drill hole with a notch. But because I left the black edges all the way around, I can take wherever I want to set it, and I can drill anywhere in this and get an ember to start, and then transfer that ember into a bird's nest. And how you do that is you take your knife and you take a piece of your Chaga and you break a piece off, just a small little piece, and you'll put that in the hole that has the ember in it, blow on it, get it to transfer to that little piece, and that little piece will burn for quite a long time. You put that in your bird's nest and you can get your fire going. And I'll demo that. I don't think I'm getting it done tonight. Looks like the weather's going to turn tomorrow. I'm going to give it a shot tomorrow, try to get a video done of it. So one thing to keep in mind, moisture is Chaga's enemy. This piece of Chaga was harvested about December, and it's right now it's fairly light. It's bone dry. It's bone dry, and you got to keep it that way. So what I recommend people do is they cut slabs like this, and then you take a quart size Ziploc bag, squeeze all the air out of it, seal it with your Chaga in it, put it in your backpack. Then you know it's always dry. Because this bugger will absorb even humidity. If it's super high humidity, this Chaga will start to absorb that moisture. But this is light as a feather. This whole piece is light as a feather. You put that in a Ziploc bag, stick that in your backpack, at the bottom of your backpack, and you've always got a Chaga hearth ready and available to start a fire. Now, Chaga compared to conventional hearth boards. Here's a good example of a good wood for hearth, making a hearth. It's white pine. It's very dry. And it's relatively soft. It's not too hard to get a flat edge started on it. And you can usually find pieces, if you got white pine in your area, white pine or red pine. I've used red pine. But you can whittle up a hearth board pretty easy. You know the drill. You harvest some wood from the same tree, same branch preferably, to make yourself a drill. And surprising enough, sometimes this can take a little bit of work. By the time you're done whittling and everything, and then you gotta do the bow drill, you find that it can be kind of labor intense. But you'll find with Chaga, you don't have to put as much downward pressure on your drill. You don't have to drill as fast and as hard to get it to come to an ember. And once it does come to an ember, if you do it the way I was talking without doing the notch, once it comes to an ember, it'll sit there, and as long as you give it some air once in a while, it'll just keep growing and growing. So you got all kinds of time to get your bird nest just the way you want it. Pick that coal out of there, use a piece of Chaga to transfer it, and off you go. You got yourself a fire. So there you go, Chaga hearth boards. I believe in them. If you're going to do friction fire, I like that method. I like that method. Now, all I did was make 2 cuts. I cut that end piece off. You saw me do that. Now I cut this slab off, and I could keep going. I could cut 2 or 3 more off of this easily. And you want them about 1 inch thick. Some people would want them even thicker. But you should be able to get your coal going well before you ever get through that hearth board. And you can just keep using this and using it over. I'll go into all of that when we actually do a fire with it. Now, like I said, 2 cuts. That's all I made. I filled this pill bottle with the dust. So with that much dust, you can't beat it. That's a lot of fires in that pill bottle. And I'll show you that when I do the bow drill too, how you save this dust and you can use it and use your ferro rod to get your fire going. And you can even use some of this dust when you're using a bow drill or hand drill to help get your ember growing faster. So we'll get into that when we get into starting fires with it. So there you go, folks. There's the hearth board made out of Chaga. And yes, there's a lot of Chaga left over for tea. In fact, I think I'm going to go get my fire going and get myself a pot of Chaga tea going. So there you go, folks. Thanks for tagging along. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got some information you could use. With that, you all have a nice day. Bye-bye.